Hello, this is David of the Savage Experience, and I'm here with Pat, the NES punk, founder of the Punk Effect, and a member of RetroWareTV.
How you doing?
Glad to have you here, man.
Thanks for questioning me. It's early in the morning.
It's early in the morning. It's the afternoon, man.
I don't know. Time sort of flies at MAGFest. It's such a nutty experience. If this is your first one, there's just so much to do. The arcade room, I was in here until like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's just nuts.
Yeah, I'm planning to stay, probably do like a 24-hour thing, so I'm just going to be running back and forth.
You're going to be up for 24 hours here?
That's what I'm going to try to.
Wow, that's a noble try. You really got to get those free 5-hour energy drinks and just start popping those because you're going to be worn out.
Exactly. Now, to begin with, when did you become the NES punk?
When did I become? When did I transform?
Yes, a transformation.
Well, the first video I did was Baseball Stars, and that was June of 2008. Like you can sort of say I've always been sort of like a punk, and in terms of my attitude, I guess. And I've been collecting Nintendo games since like '99, 2000. So it's been a long time that I've sort of amassed a collection and sort of my little knowledge here and there about the original Nintendo.
Why specifically the NES?
It's the one that I grew up with a few different systems, but it's the one that I guess was closest to my heart. It's the first one that I got, you get at Christmas, the first video game system. That's the one that I got, and that's the one that I sort of played the most since it was the most popular system. And while I did have a TurboGrafx 16 and a Super Nintendo, I was renting Nintendo games, every week. I'd be renting Nintendo games and trying to beat them. And those are the ones I would trade with my friends, and I had Nintendo Power every month, and so that's where I had most of the experience with.
Since you've mentioned that you've got a huge collection of NES games, out of all the NES games you've played, which one do you find is the most underrated or a hidden treasure, not really talked about but should?
Do I have to pick one only?
You can name as many as you want.
Oh, okay. North and South is very underrated. It's a Civil War strategy game that not a lot of people know about. Rue from 16-Bit Gems actually reviewed it, so hopefully it gets somewhat of a push. There's a game called Mr. Gimmick that I reviewed that didn't come out in the US, but you can get the NES US prototype of, and if that came out in the system, it was a Sunsoft platformer that if that came out in the US, it would have been a top 10 sort of game for sure. It would have rivaled like any Mega Man game or Super Mario 3. Those two on top of my head are really, I think, very good. Super Dodgeball is another game I reviewed.
Definitely.
Extremely underrated game.
Yeah.
It's both sports and action, and it's so well done. The Technos title, that's the sort of game I can pop at any time and just kind of like have a ball with. I wish I could think of more right off the top of my head. I'm sort of still waking up, even though it's the afternoon, as you pointed out. But I'll think of some more while you go through the questions.
And you've already mentioned your collection, and we've seen it. It's to say it's extensive, I think would be really, really putting it mildly. But
yeah, I have a problem, I think, at this point. Yeah.
What is the most prized possession?
The most prized possession is probably the M82 demo unit that I have, because that's what took me the longest to find. I searched years for one. It's what I remember as a child, like some of my first sort of Nintendo experiences were going to Kitty City, which was a toy chain in Child's World on the East Coast and a little bit Midwest. And so it would be set up on the counter. I remember playing like Urban Champion, some of the original games. I think they even had Contra on there. That's how I kind of got familiar with Contra. And so, yeah, it's a great demo unit. You put 12 games in it, you hit a button, it scrolls through the games. And they're very hard to find. And it's my most prized possession for sure, because that's what I sort of associate, like, sort of like my first, like, Nintendo experience, like, sort of with that.
And, well, that actually answers the next one about the hardest item to find, which was that one there.
It's not the hardest item to find, but that's the one that was...
there was another one? What was the hardest item?
Well, you don't find Nintendo World Championships cards easily
definitely.
either. Actually, there's a demo unit before the M82 called the M8, which was a predecessor, which was a lot harder to find. But I sort of one sort of fell into my lap in a weird way. Someone found one at like a indoor flea market in the Midwest, and they told me about it, and I said, give me the number, I'm going to call, and they shipped it to me. And I got it pretty much for that price, a steal on one of those. And that was a demo unit that the games were on ROMs inside, on a board, a giant board, and you scrolled through the games, but you couldn't swap them out.
Because I remember even joking with you in the chat, the Grey Wolf chat, where we joked around saying that James and you, that you were perfectionists and you went through 100 Nintendo World Championships to get that one shot.
Yeah, we
right.
destroyed all of them just for that. Yeah,
yes.
We went through.
While you were crying in the corner when that was happening. Now, I heard this. Now you've got to dispel this rumor or prove that it's true. All right. Is it true that you dumpster dived for a Kid Icarus manual?
I've probably dumpster dived for lots of things before.
So you have dumpster dived?
I've found stuff on the ground before, honestly. I found like Nintendo cleaning cards on the ground at a flea market that I picked up and, oh, look at this, and I've actually kept before. So I wouldn't put it past me to dumpster dive for any sort of manual.
Speaking of flea markets, what was the best deal that you found at a flea market?
Best deal at a flea market? I found a box Atari Jaguar almost dead mint for like $30.
Oh.
And just to find any Atari Jaguar at all, let alone one boxed, was, and I saw it sitting down there, and he had a couple other consoles, and I just saw, how much is it, like $30? I'm like, I just jumped on that, in a heartbeat. I think the same guy also had like a sealed Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for like PlayStation 2, which is also extremely hard to find, and he had it sealed. And I picked that up as well from the same guy. So that's one of the better deals I've found. I found other stuff though, but that's one always pops out because I've never seen a box Atari Jaguar ever in a flea market, just that one time. Any
particular horror encounters and like any scary really seedy flea market sellers?
There's always seedy people. What's the best about the flea market is that you have all the sellers think they know more than you, when at least with me they don't when it comes to the games and how rare they are. So when you see a guy's trying to sell a Gyromite card for like $25, and Gyromite's one of the most common games out there, and you even try to talk to them and convince them, saying, hey, listen, you're trying to do them a favor, listen, it's not that, Gyromite's like a $5 game at most, and oh no, I think it's rare, because it's like, what happens is people go online, they go on eBay, they see like, for a case like Gyromite, they might see a price of like Rob the Robot for $25 or $30, they think that's what Gyromite is, and they get confused, and that's what's terrible in terms of, I guess the internet's good for knowledge, but it gives knowledge to like the wrong sort of people sometimes, and they kind of abuse it. And that's a perfect case of that. So that's more or less what I come across as people that think they know more, and it's just bad because they're telling people that want to collect or get a game what they think it should be when it's not. That's not true. They're not spreading the true sort of knowledge about things. So that's more my horror, I guess, when it comes to that.
And my final question is, what do you think of the state of video game reviews today?
The state of video game reviews today. Is there a state? I mean, there's so many different reviewers out there and types of reviews. There's stuff like my stuff and James was kind of like sketch heavy. Mm-hmm. Well, we're still putting reviews in there. There's stuff like 16-bit gems or Chris Bucci's Turbo Views, which are sort of especially Chris Bucci's Turbo Views, which are very professional, journalistic, and there's nothing out. There's no frills. It's just he reviews the game, does a great job, he makes it entertaining, and that's all. There's other guys out there that I think go for over-the-top humor, or they make a game a lot worse than it should be just because they're going to get a cheap laugh from their audience who may or not. A lot of these guys do reviews, I think, that they know in their heart of hearts that it's not a bad game, and they're just doing it for the cheap sort of like views, because they think, okay, I'll make fun of this game, and my fans don't know about the game, they didn't grow up with it, so they're going to think it's automatically awful. The difference is that, though, with someone like James, is that James is playing a character and it's obvious, and so, but these other guys, it's not obvious. They're coming across as, this is just an awful game, and that's what I think is awful, because if you're going to try to insert comedy, which some people argue you shouldn't do in a game review, you at least when you get down to the game itself, be honest about it, and I don't think that's happening across the board.
And of course, there's always the defense they use that somebody said, well, you don't understand, I'm playing a character. That's what they would usually say in regards to that. But what James would do is that he has it listed right there in the credits, James Rolfe as the angry video game nerd. So it's like, it's right there.
Yeah, so when I review, when I do my reviews, when I actually get to the game review, I'm being honest. I'm not playing a character. I might kind of pump up my personality, but when I say Mr. Gimmick's a great game, it's a great game. If I say, I can't even think of myself. I don't usually do bad reviews for bad games. But when I play like Action 52, it's not so much bad to me, is that it's perplexing that it was made. And that's kind of sort of how I come up in the video. I'm confused about it, and I go insane in the video because actually, I played a game for like 4 hours to do it, and your mind just starts going numb after playing all those games. And so I try to be honest when it actually comes to the actual game. That's what I try for.
And if I may say so, your Action 52 review is a lot better and shorter than our Make 21's Action 52 review.
There's so many people that have done reviews of that game by now that, like I did mine and James did his. And you have to do Action 52.
Yeah.
You have to. It's the most strange game why was it even made? You know what I mean? The guy that made it was like, I don't want to say he was a shyster, but it was a fly-by-night company for the most part. And there's actually another guy who owns the rights to the name Action 52, or at least Active Enterprises that made it. But that game shouldn't have been released. So.
Yeah, but thank you very much for the interview.
Yeah, this was good. Appreciate it.
Glad you stopped by, and I hope you have a fun time at MAGFest 10.
Yeah, we got panels and arcade action. I'll beat you up at some game. We'll see.
Definitely. Thank you again, man.
All right. Thanks a lot.